Hello there!
And welcome to the channel. Today I'd like to show you my favorite build on Sadako, also known as the Onryo or the Ring Girl. She's got quite a complicated power, so first of all let's dive into what she can do before we have a look at the build and how it synergizes with her power, and then we're going to go into some gameplay. As a first part of her power, Sadako has two different states. She can be manifested or demanifested. While manifested, she actually acts like a normal killer. She's got a red stain, she's got a terror radius, and she can hit survivors. While demanifested, she sort of works like the Wraith. She won't have a terror radius, you will only see her intermittently, and she will not be able to be stunned by pellets, which can come in handy in some situations, as we will see later. However, in her demanifested state, she cannot hit survivors. The biggest part of her power is that she can teleport to televisions that are scattered around the map and usually found next to generators. She can do so while demanifested, and then will manifest once she arrives at the TV that she has chosen to project to. This does not only give you insane mobility, but also causes survivors next to powered TVs to gain a stack of Condemned. Once a survivor has 7 stacks, they will be able to be killed instantly, even if they haven't been hooked yet. In order to avoid this, survivors can reduce their stacks by retrieving a tape from a TV and bringing it to another television across the map. It's also why Sadako is sometimes called a killer with a side quest, because survivors will have to waste time delivering tapes instead of doing gens. Today's build leans into this time wasting factor heavily. It runs Sloppy Butcher to increase the time survivors need to spend healing, and Hex Devour Hope to make the survivors waste more time by looking for totems. If they don't do any of these things, they will be punished by being one-shot downs, either because they stayed injured or because they've gathered 3 stacks of Devour, making them exposed. If you manage to get 5 stacks of Devour Hope, you'll even be able to Mori survivors that are not condemned. So, in order to make it harder for them, this build also runs Hex Undying, which essentially makes it so that the first totem they cleanse will not be Devour Hope, but just a decoy, wasting even more of their time. In this variation of the build, I also like to run Lethal Pursuer, because it gives you perfect intel on the survivor's location at the start of the match, and combos well with the aura reading of the Iridescent add-on, the remote control. This add-on shows you the auras of all survivors close to powered TVs when you teleport, and Lethal Pursuer adds 2 more seconds to the total time of the aura reveal. Finally, this build runs Bloody Fingernails to increase the duration of the bonus that you get to your speed boost once you're done teleporting. This can lead to easy hits on careless survivors, and is generally good because Sadako doesn't really have a good power in chase, so it helps you get hits on survivors early and easily. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the match. So, the game has started, Father Campbell's Chapel, and the first thing I do is look around to see if Lethal Pursuer shows us any survivors, and as you can see there are some here on the generator, which means I'll try to interrupt them. What I do here is try to hide myself so they don't initially see me coming, and it gets me the jump on them. I manifest, I hit the Jake, and then I turn around, I see that the Nia is camping the pallet. She wastes it, I can break it, which is also great value, and then I cut her off to the right here, hitting her as well, and that means that I've got 2 survivors that have Sloppy Butcher applied to them, and will make them heal much slower. I try to apply the perk to Yui as well. She gets the pellets done here, which is fine. The pellet is quite good, so getting it out of the way early is not really bad for me. And then I demanifest, trying to find them, but eventually I kind of lose them, and I start patrolling the generators. And as you will be able to see soon, I see Jake working on the totem. That's because Undying shows me every survivor that works on a doll totem, and I get a pellet, and then I follow him, trying to either get pellets out of this or maybe even a down. Now the generator gets finished, it's not that bad, but I teleport back to it in the hopes of kind of catching the survivors who finished it. I don't, so I focus back on the Jake and follow him for a admittedly rather lengthy chase. You usually shouldn't commit to chases like this with Sadako, but in this case I kind of wanted to down, and I saw that Jake was wasting a lot of pallets, so this also gives me quite of a bonus. So yeah, I continue trying to hit him, and at least getting some pellets out of it as well. Now he's starting to run out of options, he doesn't have a pellet left, and then he doesn't make the vault, which means I get the down, and I get my first hook. Having hooked Jake, I teleport away in the hopes of somebody unhooking him to give me my first stack of Devour Hope. It also causes condemnation to the V, and I teleport up here and try to get a hit on V, which I do. I apply Sloppy Butcher, another generator gets finished to the right, but that doesn't really deter me from chasing her further. I get another pellet out of it, and she doesn't get the stun. As I mentioned, you can't get stunned. You can get blinded, but you can't get stunned while you demanifested, so here I was able to get the pallet out of her because she didn't realize I was demanifested and tried to stun me with it. I teleport one more time, applying some Condemned as you can see on the left. Nia lights up. And I do this a couple more times, teleporting around. And then I can see Nia's aura, thanks to my remote control add-on. She doesn't realize I see her, and I basically just try to find a way to get an easy hit on her, which I do. Now after the hit I demanifest again and teleport some more in the hopes of either finding Nia again or finding another survivor. However, there is no Condemned being applied and there are no auras being shown, which means there are no survivors next to televisions. And so I teleport up here, and then Nia tries to work under this generator and I get her down. She jumps down and I pick her up, being mindful of V's flashlight, so I look at the wall and I carry Nia to the hook on this hill here, which gives me a nice vantage point in case I need to defend the hook. But as you'll see later, it won't really matter a lot. There's a skill check over there, I missed one, so I teleport over there. I see V and down her instantly, and then I pick her up as well and get her to the hook next to Shaq. So something weird happens now. I find the Yui and I hit her, and instead of running away she goes for the trade, so I hit Yui again and I'm able to pick her up. And probably the reason why that was is that V is trying to flashlight save here, but she messes up and I get the hook anyways. She does blind me though, but that doesn't really change a lot. I demanifest again, jumping into the television, faking like I'm going away, and that is enough time for V to come out and try to save Yui, so I just hit her with my speed boost, and then V is going down again. So the situation that the survivors are in now is quite bad. They've got 2 people on hooks and already lots of Condemned stacks, and so I demanifest, I teleport away again in order to cause some Condemned. I see the Jake with the remote control, he runs into me for some reason, probably because he wants to get chased, and so I oblige, I do him the favor to hit him, and then I try to find him. He does something that I only later in the match will realize was quick and quiet into a locker, probably because I lose his scratch marks, which probably means that he just silently jumped into a locker. So I teleport back, trying to intercept and unhook. Since Jake is on the other side of the map, I don't have to worry about him. I kick this generator because there's not really a lot of anything else to do. There's the unhook, and now I have 3 stacks of Devour Hope, which means I will be able to insta-down everybody. And so I do. Nia goes down, and yeah, back on the hook she goes. And this means that the hooked survivor V is in a really bad spot. She really has to be saved right now, otherwise she'll just die on hook, which pressures the survivors a lot. So now they save her. I kick this generator because I'm starting to realize that the game is probably already won, so I don't sweat too much. I teleport around some more, and Jake is now condemned, as indicated by the red ring around his portrait and this killer instinct that I get here. He gets a stun, which is alright, another pellet for me. He's injured, I've got insta-downs, so once I get him he'll be dead. I demanifest here, just trying to confuse him a little bit, But it turns out it was a mistake. He gets the vault, so what I do is I teleport down and get stuck here, unfortunately. I can see Jake, so I follow him. Another generator pops. I can see lots of auras here, and so I decide to teleport to this television and try to get the down on Nia, which I do, and also condemns V. Now Nia can be killed, not because she's condemned, but because of Devour Hope's 5 stacks, so that's what I do, removes one survivor from the game already, and makes it even more so that they will not be able to win anymore. I can see one survivor drop down on the right, which I try to capitalize on by chasing them. However, I see that the scratch marks that were going there, I follow them to in the wrong direction and therefore lose the survivor, which was a mistake. I find the scratch marks again, and here's Jake. He stuns me with a pellet again, which, as earlier, is not the worst thing in the world. I'm not under any pressure, and he tries to fake the window, but I read him and I get the kill on him as well. So, now I've demanifested again. V has gotten rid of her condemned, which means she has put a tape into one of the TVs. So I teleport, try to find other survivors, and here's Yui. So she's in a bad position. Jake has used up all the pellets here, and I now found out that they have quick and quiet. So I checked the lockers, and unfortunately I checked the wrong locker, which means that Yui gets a head-on on me here, which was a good play by her. She went into a locker, I didn't realize, I took too long to get her out of it, and then she was able to head on me. But in this case, even though it was a good play, it only bought her like 10 seconds of time, which doesn't really change anything about the game's outcome. So I pick her up, and on the hook she goes. We know that V is the only survivor that is still alive. In the meantime, they have cleansed my Devour Hope, so I don't have insta-downs anymore, but it doesn't matter since they're all injured. And I demanifest, teleport to another television, just to gain some ground, see if I can get some aura reads, find the last survivor, and at this point it's basically just closing out the game and trying to end it by finding the survivors. So all I do now is just patrol the generators, sometimes kick them, and just generally see if I can find the last survivor. Now, as you can see, they get the unhook, I demanifest, I teleport, I see the survivor that is killer instincted, in this case it's V again, and that means she has to die. So I kill her, Yui gets away, but as you'll see later, it's not like she can escape. I demanifest, I use my mobility to try to find survivors with my aura read, and to maybe even get a quick hatch, and there it is. I close the hatch, powering the exit gate, so now the only options that Yui has are either die or silently get to an exit gate and open it and find her way out. I patrol a bit, trying to find the Yui. Again, using the TVs to kind of get aura reads if she's anywhere near a powered television. However, in this case, I still have to wait for a bit. Still keep patrolling, but eventually you'll see I'll find her and the game will be over soon. And now I see Yui. She was sneaking back there. I do see her in the grass but don't realize. And then I turn around and there she is, and yeah, basically what I do here is tell her that I want her toolbox as an offering so I can let her go. So I hit her once, and then I tell her to open the exit gates by slapping it, and yeah, that's the match. So, as you can see, Onryo, she is not considered a very strong killer, but I think with this build you build up so much pressure and you have so many things that the survivors have to do in order to get out that I actually kind of think this build is really strong, and if played correctly you can easily kill lots of survivors except for maybe the most sweaty comp teams. So I let Yui go. Bye Yui, it was a nice game, she nods at me, and that's it. So, I hope you've enjoyed this little showcase. I enjoy my toolbox, and that's the game. If you have any ideas on what killers or survivor builds you want to see, please leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to oblige and try to find new things that you might be interested in seeing. Bye bye!